Welcome back to the Secret Solve. This is a series where we talk about Secret, book by Byron Price, and we go through the book, looking at various aspects of the book and trying to see if we can find clues to the locations of these treasures. And so today I'm talking about the Mimi, otherwise known as Infans Infernus Inflictus. I'm starting on page 70 and 71. So I'm going to start just saying that the Screaming Mimi. So, how do you best go about calming down a crying baby? So, a crying baby is crying for several reasons. Diaper is wet, it's hungry, needs some food, and the other thing that sometimes calms a baby is by rocking the baby in a baby buggy. And so I'm going to start with the first image on page 70, which shows this baby in a buggy. It's out in front of a house that has a paladin style of architecture. And so let's just look at, first of all, the baby buggy. And so, while the history of the baby carriage goes back a long, long time to like William Kent and the Duke of Devonshire, there is an inventor in 1889 by the name of William H. Richardson that patented a new type of baby carriage. His idea was to use a special joint to allow a bassinet to be turned to face the operator. And if you look at the type and style of baby buggy that is in the image in which the screaming Mimi is in, it's the modern type of baby carriage that allows the child to look at the person in the carriage, thereby allowing you to assist in, crying that baby. Uh, um, so, if we want to find out a little bit more about this inventor, William H. Richardson, we'll find that he is basically an African American. He was born January 5th, 1890, in Baltimore, Maryland. And he made that big improvement in the design of the basket. Now, there's not much more to be said here about the baby carriage, other than the fact that this is the guy who led to that development, etc. So, if you have a crying baby, the next way to maybe check into that baby and see how you can assist it is by looking at the diaper. And the diaper has some interesting history, but the history that dates back to the 20th century is that there was basically baby napkins was the first idea in 1944. A guy by the name of Hugo Drangle of Sweden, the Swedish paper company, came up with an idea. But as far as the United States, it's Marion Donovan who used a shower curtain from her bathroom to create a boater, a diaper cover from an Army surplus nylon parachute cloth. Uh, and this was debuted in 1949 at Saks Fifth Avenue in New York. She received this patent along with a number of other patents, and she sold the rights to her waterproof diaper for $1 million back in 1951. She had some other inventions as well, and there's some other people who have led to the improvement of the diaper. And one of those that led to the improvement of the diaper is a guy by the name of Victor Mills. So Victor Mills basically worked at Procter and Gamble Company, which is headquartered in, I believe, Cincinnati, Ohio. He was born in Milford, Nebraska. He served in the Navy. One of the themes that I have found is that a lot of the people that are in this secret served in the Navy, and I don't know why. And I don't think it's because I'm getting indexed, because I'm finding these people just based upon what they did, like they're work in the area of diapers and this kind of thing. He was discharged in Honolulu, and he lived as a beachcomber and a welder on the island of Molokai for a while. And then he returned and went to Iowa. He graduated from the University of Michigan with a degree in engineering. He was hired subsequently by Procter and Gamble, and he was given some assignments. He worked on the Duncan Hines cake mixes, which I think when we get into the household part, we'll see if there's any Duncan Hines or any cake mixes in there. And he also worked on improving the ivory soap product that Procter and Gamble had. But he ended up being involved in this project where he conceived and led to the development of Pampers in the 1950s. And by the 1970s and 1980s, Pampers were pretty much a staple in the household for people who didn't use cloth diapers. In fact, the market share of Pampers was, more than half the market uh, going into the 70s and 80s, I believe. Um, so the other strange and interesting note is that this Victor Mills is also responsible for the development of the Pringles potato chip, a potato chip snack, using a slurry of potatoes, flour, and flavorings. Is another thing that this guy Victor Mills was involved in the development of. Uh, So if you've got the crying baby, if you can't solve the problem with the diaper, and you can't solve the problem with a baby buggy, maybe your baby is hungry. And so the history of infant formula goes back to way back 18 1700s. And this guy patented and marketed infant food. It was known as Liebig's formula. And then from there, there's been a number of different formulations. Picking up the history in the United States, we can look at the Gerber Products Company, uh, and they're headquartered in New Jersey currently. So Gerber started by Daniel Franklin Gerber, owned by a Fremont Canning Company, and that started in Fremont, Michigan. And he basically was having problems with the baby food, and so his wife and him developed this baby food, and which then became a staple for feeding your hungry children. Now, if you go to the image where you are looking at Louis Armstrong, and then you look at the Gerber baby, is that the Gerber baby? Is that the Gerber baby with its mouth in a different position? I don't know. I just the Gerber logo sticks in my mind a little bit because of the fact that it was the Gerber baby. Um, he went by the name of Dan, and he was born in Fremont County, Michigan. Uh, Interestingly enough, Gerber attended the St. John's Military Academy from 1913 to 1960, and he was in the war, and then he joined his father at the Fremont Canning Company. Uh, that little part about the St. John's Military Academy is just kind of interesting. I didn't know that. The Good House Keeping magazine was a place where you might often find the Gerber baby. You'd see the Gerber baby in there. Gerber ended up being a host or a sponsor of the You Bet Your Life program in some of its advertising. And so the Gerber, feed the baby. That'll help the baby maybe not be quite as testy. As far as infant formula is concerned, you need to maybe look at the Mead Johnson company. That basically their flagship product was Infamil baby formula, and Infamil was basically founded by Edward Mead Johnson of Johnson and Johnson, and this is basically a Jersey City, New Jersey company, and they were eventually acquired by, I think, Bristol Myers Squibb. But anyway, that's another leader in the baby formula marketplace. Um, One of the interesting things is that back in 1980, one of the major accomplishments of the United States Congress in 1980 was passing this huge legislation that would have basically regulated the what went into baby food, especially a formula. And so there, in the 1980s, it was a hot topic as to whether baby milk was best, or whether you should you know do it the natural way. And so the Congress got involved, and there was a big thing like that. So going back to the image a little bit, and I took a look at the next page of the image where you have the Mimi, and Mimi's. If you look at the screaming Mimi on on the top of her head, it looks like the screaming Mimi has a pair of breasts on on the top of her head. I don't know if those ears are tombstones, but maybe. So the screaming Mimi has an open mouth, and then on top of her head is a pair of boobs. Um, I'm just saying, open mouth, baby with some boobs on the top of its head, but then it's got some pointed horns on it as well. I don't know if those are traffic cones or what that is. Maybe they're lollipops. I don't know. But so if you continue to look at this image, you will see that those leaves called sweethearts. So the next way in which you can quiet a baby is to provide it a sweetheart or a sweet treat or something like that. And that leads me to the Nico Wafer Company, or otherwise known as the New England Confectioner Company. And this was a company that was started by Oliver and Silas Edwin Chase, and it merged with Ball and Forbes. And one of the confectionaries was Daniel Forbes, and another confectioner was Bird Wright and Company, and it formed this Nico company. And they were, oh, by the way, in Boston, Massachusetts. And so if you give candy to a baby, that can maybe calm that baby down. But the interesting part is that they owned the Domino Sugar Factory. Or they didn't own it, but they used so much sugar that the Domino Foods Sugar Company was right next to them, otherwise known as Florida Crystal Company. And we all know that if you use the correct image for the match there for Boston, you have the picture of the sugar bag, right? And so you have a candy making company, sugar bag, sweethearts, Nico Wafer, all right there in the Boston, Massachusetts waterfront area. So I think that all kind of plays into the solve here. We've got a crying baby. What are we going to do with it? Let's try to make the baby feel better. Now, I didn't look up the lollipop, but I think that could possibly be part of the way to cry it, or way to quiet a crying baby as well.